we're going to do what you did. So that way we can go ahead and buy something and not have to worry about. So it's like the catch-22 I'm seeing. I've got probably 3 or 4 buyers in that mode right now, that they want stuff. There's nothing in the market, but they don't want to list theirs until they find something. Is anybody else seeing that?
Lots of conversations with that, Jeff. Lots of conversations. How are you guys handling that? What do you say to? What are you guys saying to your clients when that happens?
I keep trying to keep hope, be positive. Like, we'll have more listings coming up. Things are, it kind of does slow down around the holidays, but don't lose hope. You just try and tell them, you're going to get the listings when they come. It's just right now there's just not a lot hitting the market.
So this is not new for anybody. Anybody this year is having these conversations. I feel like I'm having these at least once a week. And is it an issue? It really isn't. I mean, the reality is facts and numbers. I always go back to that. But at the end of the day, when you look at the real numbers, inventory is not down. Our sitting inventory is down. So that's what we try to separate. We want them to understand that you're right. You know what? Sitting inventory is down. There's not the homes that are just sitting there. A lot of the old inventory has sold. A lot of those homes that sat there forever have been sold because there was nothing else left. But the reality is that new homes are coming on at the same pace they have the last 2 years. Our new inventory that came on this year is right in line with 2019 and right in line with 2018. So what we have to convince them is, or what we have to get them to understand is that you have to kind of separate the two, and it makes it hard because they're afraid. They're afraid that we're going to sell my house and I'm not going to find something, which is a legitimate fear. So there's a couple ways that Jeff's got a really good. I want you to pipe in, Jeff, a little bit on that conversation piece. But you've got to understand that first off, you have to have that done because the chances of them taking a home on contingency is slim, especially if it's priced aggressively. So you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to sell your home first. But the reality is that if you'll do that and you're ready to move and you're ready to pull the trigger, there's going to be opportunities because the amount of homes coming on the market is the same as it's always been. It's just there's not the sitting inventory.
So it doesn't work every time with every customer. I think it has a lot. I think it has a lot to do with, are they full-time people? Because full-time people have another set of challenges to that scenario that these part-time people don't. If you're dealing with part-time customers that are giving you that deal, then you can, what Jason said is compartmentalize it. Focus on their ability to make money right now, because what none of us know, I mean, we like to predict, but what we don't know is what values will be in the future. But we do know what they are now. We also know what the competition is now. So we just had one similar, Jeff. This guy had a preconceived, he had his own notion about when the right time to list was. And when the right, some of them have ideas in their head that they don't really tell us. This guy thought, it was probably more beneficial for him to wait until April or May to list this unit. And one of the conversations we had was, well, you're not wrong. Spring is a good time to sell real estate at the lake, but what people don't realize is today's inventory, we know more units are going to come on in the spring, likely. Historically, there always have been. Right now, we know there's very, very little competition. So if you talk about just the sale and then address the, just the values of selling, and then the values of having time to pick what you want and inventory coming on the market in the future, that might be a way around it. It's not an easy one. I think it's a condition of the market and something we're going to have to deal with. But I wouldn't just agree. I think oftentimes they say that and we go, oh, okay, because we don't want to do that. We don't want to upset them in any way. But if you just challenge yourself not to just agree with them, sometimes you can talk them off that concern somewhat.
Okay.
And you're a great example. Doing it yourself is probably the best example you could possibly give somebody. Well, actually, I just went through that myself.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
And I trust me, I've gone through that with several buyers and sellers. Like, look, I just went through that. I told Jane, I think every realtor should have to buy and sell a house every 2 or 3 years just to realize what our clients have to go through, because it's painful sometimes, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, I've had that. I'm like, hey, I just did this and my house went under contract in 8 days, got full price. You know, we found what we wanted and I made it real easy on my seller and, the guy that owned our house that we bought. But it is a conversation that it keeps. Like I said, every day on the portal, I've got people logging in, looking at listings. I know, but they.
So Jeff,
yeah.
You just reminded me of something, and it's not the end all solution, but a realtor should say things like, that's very common. You know what? We discuss that all the time. That is easier to deal with than what you might think it is. Little phrases like that lead people to, oh, he knows how to take care of that. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, don't forget as well, too, as a seller, you've got quite a bit of leverage. You can always push out the selling for, the sell date further. Remind them of that. Hey, let's push it out to 60 days. Especially this time of year, people might be a lot more, might be more in favor of that, especially this time of year. Maybe you even get it further than that. To give yourself a little longer to list. And none of these are cure-alls. Each individual, like Jeff said, each individual case is it's going to work on some people, it's not on others. What'd you say, Jeff?
Finally, if you can't talk them out of it, you can pre-sign a listing 2 months in advance. You can pre-sign a listing 30 days in advance. You can start that process without letting them go. That's never hardly ever talked about. But if they won't change their tune, you could create a plan with them. Now I'm brainstorming. I just came up with this, so if it doesn't sound perfect, it's probably because it's not. But you could create a transition plan with a person to say, I understand where you're coming from. We want to get this ball rolling. I got a lot of pre-work to do before we're ever ready to hit the market anyway. Probably a couple weeks worth. Let's sign this listing for February 1st. The holidays are going to be a wash. That gives us January to start looking, and we'll be ready to put it on the market February. I just kind of pulled that out of the air, so maybe it doesn't hold water, but it's an idea.
You want to hear? Oh, all right.
Sorry, I was going to ask Ron's question for him, if you guys are ready. If not, if you want to add to that, Jesse, go ahead, and then I'll ask.
Mine was kind of a rewind back to the listing contingent on the sale, and I've got probably like harsh words about it, and that's kind of what I did like all summer long. Was I went in and I softened them up rather than just going yes, yes, yes. Like at my old condos, one person. They said, oh, I said, you can get the most money out of this thing ever. Oh, cool. Just find us a new one. I'm like, oh, kiss of death. Because, if you want to sell it and you're leaving the lake, easy, no problem. If you're coming down and buying, no problem. But that like contingent sale to purchase, I said, okay, well, what do you want to buy? I already know what they're going to say. Well, we want a house. Okay. Where do you want it? And they said, Osage Beach. Oh, no kidding. Well, what do you think you're going to pay for one of those? Well, if we can sell our condo for 130 grand, we want a house for 130 grand. And I'm like, listen. So this is my one step in the middle. My first step is I don't let them get away with that. It's like, no, you have unrealistic expectations. Here's where your expectations should be. But then kind of my selling point is, listen, you'll never get more money than ever in history than you have out of your place right now. And so even people coming over here to tour Waterside that are down at Parkview Bay, they, oh, this is $340,000. That's more than, I'm like, that's more than what? You're going to sell your Parkview Bay place for $300 and it's, 20 years old. And so you're talking about $40,000 for a brand new place with a better view. I mean, you're negligible amount of money. So that carrot, and even this new campaign that I'm going at, that direct mail campaign, is like putting it in front of people what their values are worth right now, and then turning the corner with them into the purchase. It's like, hey, what you've got is worth more than it ever has been. Let's sell it, and keep your expectations real on the purchase, though, because you can't sell it for all the money and then purchase at 10-year-ago price.
Oh.
Good feedback. Guys ready for the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Ron Dodge asked, why do we not post all of our listings into Synergy within 24 hours prior to hitting the MLS? Is there a disadvantage to doing so?
Yeah, that's a question I had is, I mean, why are we not posting all of our listings within 24 hours so that we've got the opportunity to bring a buyer to them before it actually hits the MLS?
That's a good question. I wish we would.
Yeah, when I see them pop up.
Did they, and you forgive me because I'm not a social media guy. Jeff, did we create, isn't there another group that actually is for those listings and pocket listings? Didn't Jessica Bruce create that? I mean, not pocket listings, sorry, bad word. Listings that have not hit the market yet. Didn't we create that at one point?
You know what? I do remember that, but I think that's been buried for so long. That was a long time ago. It was a spreadsheet.
Right. I didn't know if people were still utilizing. I'm not on any of that.
Not that I know of. Ron, I mean, we have every right to market our new listings, literally our coming soons, within the brokerage. And we have every right as agents to take those to our clients. The only thing we can't do is advertise them. So yeah, I think we should be sharing those.
Yeah, that's a question I had. I see them come up in the mornings in the hot sheets, and I'm wondering why we didn't have an opportunity on some of these to bring our buyers to them.
I think I'll tell you what I think it is. And so we talked about that a lot just in our business planning from a team standpoint. And I think this applies to whatever, whether you're a primary, or you're on a team, or you're completely on your own, or whatever. It applies to everyone. I think we should be utilizing our own listings first to generate leads to ourselves. So the very first thing that you should do with your listing is get it to your database in some way, shape, or form. And then you should get it to your brokerage in some way, shape, or form. Before it goes, I mean, listings generate buyers. And if we don't use our own listings to benefit ourselves, it's silly. So I think we should be talking about it. Go ahead, Jason.
I do too. I mean, I think the Synergy is the place to do that. I agree with that, Ron. We got to make sure that you can't grab some information out of Synergy if it's coming on tomorrow and send that out like as a Facebook post. We got to make sure that nobody sends it to the public. You can talk to your database about it, but you can't send it to the public. So
yeah, you
Correct.
cannot advertise it. Advertising is print, website, social media, but you can send it one-on-one to anybody.
I think we should be utilizing that, Ron.
I think it
to remind everybody.
Us.
I think
people get so busy.
I know.
I think
Is
people,
Synergy just us? Just Remax Lake of the Ozarks, the Synergy, that's it?
yes. And I don't think it's intentional, Ron. I think people just get busy. And I mean, we see it inside the team. I mean, it's like, hey, something just hit MLS. What do you because we don't have a meeting until Tuesday, and it hit on Thursday, and it's gone before the meeting.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I agree. I understand that. And I was just wondering if there was a disadvantage of doing that. To me, I see the upside, but I couldn't see why we wouldn't want to do it.
We should be doing that.
Okay.
Who's got another one? You can chat it or ask it. Anything regarding listings, materials, conversations, You want to, up your game a little bit more? Anything you guys got?
What am I missing? Jeff and Jason and I talk a lot about, if we could only have 25 more listings, if we could only this listing, and I'm doing a lot right now to generate that stuff. What am I missing? What's magic touch?
Well, there is no, so you hit it around the head. There is no magic touch. There's no magic bean. You got to go get them. If we're waiting for them to fall in our lap or for our phone to ring, that's a mistake. We've got to create a plan. It's a perfect time of year to do it. Create a plan where we're intentionally going after those. And so where do you get listed? You get them at open houses. You can get them with for sale by owners. You can get them with expireds. You can get them with geographic farming, whether you're sending direct mail or you're door knocking or holding open houses. Or, in my honest opinion, if you're really wanting listings and you're really willing to go get them, you take a geographic farming approach and you layer it. You pick a subdivision or you pick a condo complex, and it's not a quick fix. It's going to take time, but you hit them with direct mail. You hold the open houses there. When you hold the open houses, you're intentional about those open houses. You go and door knock. You make sure that all the neighbors know. You're handing them something of value. You're inviting them, and you're soft playing them. Over time, you become the expert in that area. You guys know most of you guys know all this, but we got to go get them. We cannot wait for them to happen.
So just to piggyback that, and Jesse, maybe I told you this, I don't know, but we just did our tracking the other day. So sure. Direct mail for us this last year was a 6-to-1 return on investment. Spend $1, get 6 back. And that's only tracking the sold, closed deals that were written down as direct mail deals. So I always know that there's other benefit that didn't get categorized correctly. It's likely that there's deals that didn't get categorized correctly, but it's always questioned, does that work? Am I wasting money? And then I think agents sometimes that get into that direct mail deal, they bail out faster than they should have because it doesn't work, right out of the gate. It's the only number or the only thing that guarantees it is consistency over time. And you can tweak your message and vary your message and play with it. But if you fail to be consistent, it won't work. But boy, if you are I'll take 6-to-1 all day long because there's extra benefit from that, from a branding standpoint and from a, that buyers come from it that don't get categorized correctly. Somebody sees it and they go to your website. And so, there's a lot of stuff that comes from it. So that was our direct mail numbers. I totally agree with Jason. I think the magic, you said something about magic. The only thing magic is in person. Getting in person's hard to do, but if there's anything magical about conversion to a listing, it's being in person. Getting a listing appointment, knocking on a door and actually talking to people. That's magic, but it's hard to do.
I just asked because I keep asking and asking and asking, and every once in a while a new idea falls out and I grab onto it and take it and use it. But I'm on that farming and it's exciting. And
you did a great job with the open houses. We use you as an example a lot, Jesse, of somebody who's willing to do it. Somebody who does it consistently and does it with a purpose and a plan. It works. You kiss some frogs to get there. It's real estate. There's no magic pill. You're going to kiss frogs to make money or to find clients and people. But at the end of the day, if you consistently do it over time, they're there.
I do think what we have to do is we have to take whatever today's market is and use it for the hot button. What are people going to cue into? And you can hear it just in this conversation. Today, it's what's my property worth? I've heard that it's good, but how does that relate to me? So if we could take that message, whether it's at an open house, because Because half the people that come to an open house aren't coming to buy it. They're coming because they own something and they want to see what their competition is, and they want to relate it back to what they have to sell. So we have to be ahead of the game and understand that those people walking in the door aren't coming in to buy. They're coming in to see what their property's worth. So that is a condition of the market that I think we can use to key in on getting people to respond to us. And one thing, that was Mel. She was coming in to tell me what to do, tell me something to do, and she left, thankfully. So thank you all. One thing that we could do, we can make sure to layer whatever we're using. Maybe it's a direct mail, campaign. We can use that message, I think, to get people to respond. We can use that message within our database to get people to respond. I just think that they want to know right now.
You finally said it, Jeff. I can't believe it took you that long. I thought for sure it was going to be the first thing that came out of your mouth. We've talked about direct mail, open houses, all those things. But if you really look, if you really track, it's pretty evident to see. Just take a glimpse of these new agents that are coming into our market, and they're spending all this money on marketing, but at the end of the day, they're not getting listings, they're getting buyers. And why is that? Because I truly believe most of the listings come from relationships. You want to know where, I'll use Mel as an example, or Susan, or Jane, those big listings over in Portachima, the Villages. If you ever have conversations with them, they don't talk about addresses. They talk about, well, that's the Jones property, or that's the Whitmore property, or that's this property. I'm like, who? I'm like, where? Because they know everybody. And at the end of the day, listings come from relationships. And so I never did that as a company. I did a poor job of taking care of making sure that our past clients knew about us until we got the RE/MAX. And we changed our whole business plan changed, and we focused the heck out on it. And now it's amazing how that has shifted just in the last 3 years.
That lot that you just bought, Jason?
Which one?
A lot from me.
Oh, yeah.
That came from Backwater Jacks in the pool. Probably one of the most wealthy guys down here at the lake. Just having fun with him. So I said, hey, it's hot. You got anything to sell? Oh, why don't you try this? I mean, one of the most, you could never get to know this guy.
But you asked.
What'd you say?
The key is you asked. You had a conversation, you asked.
Just talking and creating that relationship you're just talking about, and someone who would otherwise be impossible to create that relationship with. And he started talking real estate off the magnet and said, go sell it. Okay, sure.
I'm always blown away by, when we have conversations, if I want more of this, I want more of that. And the first thing that's usually asked is, well, have you called your top 50 people? Have you sent a video to your database? And if the answer is no, that's where you need to start. You talk about ROI 6 times on a mailer. You know what that is? It's pretty much free to call somebody. It's pretty much free to send out for the most part, a bomb video. Those are the things that your return on investment, there's nothing better. So.
Awesome.
I can't believe I got to say that and not Jeff.
What'd you say?
I said, I can't believe I got to say that instead of you.
What did I do to you today?
No, I was surprised. Every meeting I've ever been with Jeff, it starts with the database and ends with the database. And there's a reason for that. There's no magic pill.
How many times do you touch your database a year?
42.
I freaked out. He said it yesterday. I wrote it down. Jill's on here. Susan's on here. I haven't even taken it back to our team yet, but I'm going to, because you're way ahead of our team. But
we had a lot to make up. We were way behind for a lot of years. So
yeah. So what else? I don't want to get bogged down. I want you guys to come up with stuff you want us to talk about, because we will tend to be a broken record about databases.
Well, database is actually on the calendar today for your Lake Friends office. and I've been bumping it up because we get so busy and then I don't update it. And so like today is like the hard and fast. It is on my calendar today, not just because you guys said it, but like it is on to do today. And not only just that of updating everybody on there and touching them again and getting something out, like rather than Christmas or Thanksgiving. One thing on my list is to get a new CRM today, because Lead Street is awful. And Kevin or Jeff, sorry, thanks. Lead Street is terrible, and it's this like kind of jailed shell of a Remax controlled environment. And I've been shopping for one. I haven't quite landed on one, but Brad is putting names and phone numbers in there today. My job is find one and commit to it and get the hell off of Lead Street.
So,
But not to totally bash Lead Street. If you're using it and that's what you got, use the hell out of it. But I think that I can do better.
and that is for sure a conversation that we've had a lot. The only thing I would challenge about that, and is Booge was supposed to be the big thing. Booge just fell flat on its face. Lead Street's actually has its consistent problems, and it also has its consistent advantages. We as a team just decided to stay with Lead Street, keep doing what we're doing. The only challenge I have about databases is before you pull the trigger on a database, make sure you're really going to use it. Because lots of times all the bells and whistles that supposedly cost the money never get used. So, I have been guilty of conveying the Lead Street bashing. I've been leading that charge for a little while, and now I'm kind of going the other way because I'm not sure. We did a lot of research too, and I'm not so sure there's not as much or more value there as there is anywhere else. So, Jeff, you were raising your hand.
Well, I turned my volume down, so guys, tell me if there's any echo. Hopefully, I'm not getting you feedback.
I don't hear any.
I'm in the same boat. It's kind of easy to use that as an excuse why you can't. I mean, Lead Street's so bad, I just can't use it. But a couple of things. They have improved the speed, I've noticed, in the last 6-8 weeks. It is functioning better. There was an article that came out just to relate. Keller Williams announced yesterday that they had invested in this smarter app. They had bought this company, and guess what? They've announced they're going to shut it down because it didn't work like they said it was. They thought it would work. So when you compare it in this market, what I've seen in this industry, it seems that, and it's an old thing where we all chase the brightest, latest thing, and it really comes back to just what you guys are talking about. It's about a relationship. It's not about technology. It's not about databases. I just made a note. I'm coming up on my 7-year anniversary in the business. Shame on me. I haven't been reaching back to people that I sold properties to 7 years ago, and there's a darn good chance at least some of those folks are ready to. And I'm going to have a good conversation saying, hey, if you're thinking about selling, now's the time to get it going.
Good for you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thing
about that, about getting back to your people and staying in touch. Kaylin, you brought this up before, that power program that we've got.
ProPower.
ProPower, yes, tremendous way. It does everything for you, and it costs you $25 one time.
Yep.
You can't beat it.
What's ProPower?
Yes, ProPower. It's offered through the office, through Remax. We've actually had here in our team, Paula went back, and she went back to past clients. Maybe not back more than a year or so, but she's starting to move her way back on past clients and using that ProPower program on them, and it's phenomenal. It works perfect.
It is.
She does a lot of other things too.
Yeah, if you don't have a system up in place for staying in contact with it, it is a no-brainer. It's $25. It touches your clients for 5 years. It touches them 25 times with direct mail. It's all different pieces. So it's
The
basically,
mailings are awesome.
Yeah, the mailings are good. It's branded to you, and it literally costs you $25 at closing. You just check the little box. The girls at the front office handle it for you. You don't have to do anything outside of giving them their mailing address. So,
And if you guys want to do past clients, just shoot the main office girls an email of who they are, their address and stuff, and they can add them that way and add it to your bill as well. So you don't necessarily have to do it just at closing. There's a couple options.
And if you don't want to bog the girls down at the front office, you can also do it yourself. It's fairly simple to do.
It is.
Once you log on to it, it's, put your information in and bang, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you get an email from them notifying you that, okay, your first one has been sent out. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that for everyone that gets sent out, but I know you get the first one at least. So it's like Jason said, it's a no-brainer. It really is. Best money you'll spend.
Hey, Jeff, I didn't mean to totally tear Lead Street apart. I think probably for most people, it's a good solution that works, and no matter what you're doing, you should be doing it somewhere. I just over the summer, when I told you I was going to break the internet, I did, and so I built a very sophisticated website that is hosted independently from Remax, and it's working. It's gaining 10% per week in keywords. And so when you have 100 keywords, 10% is only 10 in a week. But now at 1,200 keywords, I'm piling on an extra 120 every week. And that also is not for the faint of heart. That's not a push button solution. Whereas the Remax one is like, hey, anybody can do it very quickly, very easily. And this is kind of a shiny penny thing, but it's one of the few that I've picked out. And now also combining that, very powerful website with a CRM that can work with it, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm not saying everyone should run out shopping for a CRM today, but work your leads, your database, however.
For sure. And no matter where we sit in our business, to me, when we're talking about listings, the first thing we're talking about is how do I generate leads on listings, for listings. And that is different for Gene than it is for Jeff. One thing that it's twofold. You got to have a database. You got to have a goal around building a database. You got to consistently put more people in the database, because at some point it's a numbers game. When you've been in the business 7 years, like Jeff has, you got a target rich environment. You've got people that you sold property to 5 years ago. You know what the average turn is at Lake of the Ozarks. We just talked about this the other day. For those types of, Jill and Susan, good Lord, we just went crazy yesterday, because we're like, okay, how do we figure out? We need to start going back to every seller from 3 to 7 years ago and picking up the phone and calling them. Hey, how you been? We're calling all of our past clients, because we're finding a lot of people surprised to find out what the property value is worth at Lake of the Ozarks today. Are you interested in having an update done? I mean, there is nothing cheaper and easier, and you're fishing where the big fish are. So if you can do that, that should be one of the first things that we do. The other things that I don't want to, I just thought of it, but Wayne Frederick said it, and I think it's holding true. This coming year, we're going to have to prove what we say. So when we get an opportunity at a listing, we're going to have our stuff with us.
Great material.
They are going to be, there's going to be more competition, whether they tell us or not. They're going to be interviewing. We have to assume they're interviewing, and we need to be prepared, because the beauty is we have all the material that we need. We just need to make sure we have it and we're prepared. If we don't, I'm afraid we might miss opportunities, because it's going to be competitive.
Gene, what you got?
Back on the CRMs, I think we need a little we've got great training and you've been giving us great training, but I think we need a little more intense training on the actual CRM. I'm kind of learning as I go some things that I guess I didn't realize, so I go and I call this FSBO, and maybe it doesn't go through. Maybe I get a little bit of a conversation with them, start building that relationship a little bit. But what I haven't been doing is following up on those FSBOs later on, other than maybe, dropping them a card or dropping them a letter here. So if we put them into our CRM, and you go into your CRM, I'm finding that you press this button over here and it gives you a program that you can put that person on, and it will send them mailings, or it will remind you to do the mailings. I found that on my own. I didn't, I think, and maybe what we're going to send to them, what quality of stuff we're going to send to them and things like that, so that we could put that in our databases, put them into a program, and like George Foreman, set it and forget it, or have it give you a reminder every so often so that you'll contact that person. We're getting so many trainings, and plus we've got to, go out after our leads and stuff like that. And then we may have showings or stuff like that. It can really, everything can bog you down real quick, and you can forget those little things. People calling in, maybe wanting to list. And I think, Jeff, we discussed this before too, when it was really, really busy. Not that it's not busy now, but when it was like crazy busy. Some of the people on their own, or some of the team, were missing clients and losing them because they got shuffled underneath the paper somewhere else. We were so busy, they were so busy selling and going out on these listings and stuff like that, you forgot the people that were calling in weren't getting answers back. And instead of maybe shuffling it down to another team member, it got lost. So, maybe a little more of that.
So that's been for all of that. Everything you just said has been a forever problem in real estate. And that, that's a little more broad than we were going to go into, Gene, today. But this is the time of year when we have to literally write a plan and decide what we're going to do, hit those weak spots wherever they are within our own personal business, like Jesse's doing with finding his database now, or finding a CRM that works for him. I mean, the same shoe doesn't fit us all, but we all have spots within our business that we can tweak, that we can find that hole. And that's what planning's about. That's what we just talked about. We had some of the same conversation in here. We see things falling through the cracks that shouldn't. We see where our system isn't sharp enough. So, I agree there, and you'll never you'll never hit every one of the spots for every one of the people. But now is the time of year when we need to write that plan out, decide what we're going to do, what we're going to focus on, and move forward with that.
Can I help give an answer directly to, like, he was saying there's all the different options of breaking people into categories and things, and how I have solved that and people getting shuffled to the bottom of piles. So I have got mine broken up. Like, I've got a lot of agents in St. Louis and Kansas City, and I would like to send them different things. And then I've got sellers, I've got buyers, I've got neighbors, I've got friends. I've got it broken up into all these things. You could put them on all these different programs and mailing lists and different mailings and things. And with my amount of time, the way that I've solved that, I'm like, I need to touch all of these people. And so rather than getting more complicated on how I do it, I've narrowed it down and sent out Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, stats for the lake, like something that can apply to all of those groups. So I don't have to go in and dial in and make 10 different emails for each separate group. I want to get them in there, load up all their names, email addresses, phone numbers, get them in, and at the very least, just get something out to all of them that's relatable. So I'm touching all of them as often as possible.
We only have two groups as well, SOI and database. The general database, and then your SOI. That's it.
Same here. That's all we have. Two groups. And Gene, you said a lot there. what you started off talking about was training on the systems and stuff. It's funny you said that because literally Kayla, Jeff, and I just had a meeting before this meeting, and that was exactly, because we're business planning as a company and trying to figure out, exactly what our training is going to look like for next year, and we talked exactly about that. Maybe the realtor skill set training once a week, and then like a systems tools training once a week. So and real short, like 15 to 30 minutes, where we break down one part of, maybe this week we're going to talk about how to set up a seller's report in Lead Street, or maybe next week we're going to show you how to make a flyer, or maybe it's setting up your database. Just break it down real easy to chew, bite-sized classes.
Step by step.
Do that once a week. So it's funny you say that, because we do feel like there's a need for that. I mean, and like everything you said, like Jeff said, it's why it's not easy to be a real estate agent. There's a lot expected. There's a lot of hats you're wearing, a lot of things you're juggling, and unfortunately things get dropped. And the better you have the better systems, not the more systems, the better systems you have in place, the easier it is to make sure that keeps from, because you're not going to do it on your own. You're always going to drop stuff if you're relying on your memory, or if you're relying on, if you don't have a system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just go into Lead Street, and here's, this is kind of like simplifying things. Go in there to their auto-generated emails. There's a pile of them.
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving, Happy 4th of July, gardening tips. They're all in there. You just click, bang, just put them in the hopper, touch them somehow.
Yep. I'll also partner that with, if you guys have the BombBomb accounts too, if you go under the email tab on the side, there's a whole bunch of templates there too. And if you just hit preview, you can copy and paste that into a Lead Street email or send it from BombBomb, but that's really good info too.
The key is, though, guys, you cannot do this when you're in the middle of it. Like, you got to do it this time of year. You got to make it as part of your plan.
Mhm.
You got to have a laid out plan of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and when you're doing it. All three of those. You got to put a date, and you just lay it out. And I like to lay it out. Last year we did those monthly business plans. I call them kind of more of a monthly plan of action. So at the end of every month, I'm looking at the next month, and those have been great for me to truly look at as a team, but you could do it as an agent, truly look at what you're doing this next month. What do I have coming up? Oh, I'm because you don't want to be in the middle of juggling 20 clients trying to figure out what you want to mail. You want to already have that figured out. You want to know what you're mailing and when you're mailing it, or you want to know what video you're sending and who you're sending it to and when. Does that make sense? You got to have all that laid out beforehand.
Definitely.
Otherwise, it'll never happen.
Jeff, you raised your hand.
Nope, I'm just 15 minutes left. I'm thinking about.
I have something for the 15 minutes. It might be a lot, though. I don't know how well you'll be able to expand on it. But I've been asked a lot if you guys, you and Jason, could maybe discuss in layman terms, if possible, just kind of step by step how you go into a listing and just getting the listing appointment, what you kind of cover, just how your process like that looks. Or maybe how you train your new members on your team, how to go about it.
Susan Ebling, I'm tagging you. You're in.
Glad to hear.
Boy, if you have about 5 hours, I can answer that question.
That was kind of the question for the basis of this class today, is just really diving into step by step, like doing listings.
Every single listing appointment and conversation is different based on the situation and the client. I've been doing it long enough now that I don't care who I'm going to talk to. As I tell Jeff, my mindset is I am going to get this listing, and I guarantee you that I will. I'm not walking out of there without it. My average listing appointment length is at least 2 hours. What was the one I text you, Jeff, like a month ago, and I go, I set a new record. I was there, what was it, 4.5 hours or something? You know, it's a whole lot about knowing the numbers before you walk in, first of all. And I walk in with a stack this thick of detailed information on marketing, market stats, information about their neighborhood and myself. And I mean, they're usually almost overwhelmed by it, but I warn them before I come that I'm bringing all of this, and that the reason I'm bringing it is I want them to know that I am prepared and I am informed and I'm an expert in the market. And whether we go over every number or not, I know them. I don't even have to look at them. And so what ends up happening is we concentrate on that kind of stuff first, typically in my appointments. And then we go way off the rails. And we might focus on one particular aspect about the market. We might be talking specifically about something in their house they have to redo or whatever. Very often we go off. I'm trying to build a relationship with them if I don't know them. So I go way off. You know, we might start talking about, like, the 4.5 hour one. They had talked to 2 other realtors and really didn't like them, and had asked a golfing buddy who they suggested. So that's how I got to these people. And their mother-in-law is living with them right now. And so she ended up coming upstairs because I was there so long. And we ended up having a whole conversation about margaritas and Mexico and something we had in common. And then they wanted me to stay and they wanted me to drink margaritas, and we had bonded. And that's my goal before I leave any listing appointment, is I'm going to find a way to bond with you, period. So a listing appointment is different all the time.
It's different, but every listing I'm going to do certain things. Every listing I'm going to have my stuff prepared before I get there. Every listing I'm going to go to the door knowing that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have them take me through their property. While we're going through their property, I'm going to be writing notes. Every single one we go in, by the time I'm through their property, I have a whole list of notes. And during that tour, my goal is not to tear the property apart. It's not to judge their property. It's to learn about them and learn about their property. And I use that tour to set up every other agent that comes in behind me, because I'm going to say things like, no other agent at Lake of the Ozarks or appraiser knows the value of the property. If anybody comes in, that I hope you guys, realize, if anybody comes in and tells you it's worth X amount of money, I don't know how they could, because I have to do my homework. Well, they're going to love that, because they want to tell you about their property. They want to take you through, gives you a great idea to learn about them. Where are you guys going? Is there a timeline? You can ease into that conversation during that tour. And it's so much easier than addressing those conversations at a table to me, because you're walking and you're talking about that room they remodeled and what have you. They're asking you questions. I love that. After the tour, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to use that period of time. I'm going to take them to where I want them to sit if I can. I'm not going to sit on a couch in the living room. I'm going to sit at a table. I'm not going to sit directly across from you like this. I'm going to sit at an angle to you if I can, open, and we're going to have a conversation. And during that conversation, I'm going to ask you what questions you've had about the listing process, what experiences you've had. I'm going to try to make that a conversation, just like we're taught. And then I'm going to take them through some information about my company, myself, my team. I'm going to leave examples of the listing with them. I'm going to leave examples of the seller's disclosure with them. And I'm going to set them up for a second meeting. If it's a 2-part, which is what I normally do, that's when I bring value back to them. I do think urgency is a big part of our market today. So if you can get them to sign the first time, no problem. But I'm totally on Susan's bandwagon. The time you spend with them during a listing appointment is really crucial. It's not a bad thing to spend a long period of time. It's a good one. You want them to want you to be part of their family when you're done. So
the other thing that I forgot to mention that we talk about all the time is I cannot wait for them to ask me what most agents consider hard questions. I actually, if they don't bring up commission, I bring it up myself. And I'm like, you guys, you haven't asked me about commission. Everybody wants to know about commission. You want to beat me up? And they laugh, and they of course say, oh, well, yeah, what is it? And then I have a whole, I don't want to say script, because I've always hated the word script. I don't have a script. It's different for every person. I'm actually speaking to you truly from my mind and my heart. I don't have a script. I don't practice it. But generally what I tell them is, this is what I charge. I can probably guess that by now you realize why I charge this, because no one else is going to give you the service and the marketing and the blah, 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 blah that you're going to get from me. And if they, if someone's super hard and they're like, well, I say, well, when you want the best, you're willing to pay for it, right? Oh yeah. And I'm like, if you want a Louis Vuitton purse, you're going to pay $1,500 to $3,000 because you want the best. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, the best costs more than others. And that's the way that it goes. And if someone's really beating me up, I just say, listen, at the end of this transaction, if you feel like I haven't earned the money, you let me know. Because in 20 plus years, I haven't had one person tell me they didn't think I was worth what I was getting paid. And most often they tell me that I probably deserve more. And that sets them up.
We do talk about this all the time, and I'm really glad you brought something up. I bring up commission too. I bring them a blank listing contract, and I, script sometimes is a bad word. You could call it a preloaded conversation. You already have in your mind what that conversation looks like based upon where they take you, right? So mine is, part of my packet is a blank listing contract. And what I will say to them, I'll get this information, or I'll get this out as part of my deal. And I'll say, oh, by the way, I brought you guys a blank listing contract. No matter what agent you use here at the lake, they're going to use the same listing contract. So this is for you to look at. Let me talk to you about what this has on it. It has your property. It has information about brokerage, about how long the listing's going to do. It talks about what commission you're going to be paying. Do you have any questions around that? I know commission is real important. So I just bring it up right like that too. I think that it speaks to confidence. And I think that's really important.
Jeff, I'll just piggyback on that. Scripts is a kind of a harsh word because you don't want to sound like a robot, but I love what Wayne Frederick said. We have an epidemic in our industry where people are not practiced. Any other industry that I've ever been in, like the professionals, the true elite people, they practice all the time. It's not a negative it's not perceived as a negative. There's this idea that it takes 10,000 hours to become elite at anything, that you need to put 10,000 hours of practice. And I'm not saying you need to put 10,000 hours of going back and forth with listing objections, but you better practice. And if you don't practice, you're missing the boat. And if the more you practice, truly, the less robotic you actually sound. You actually sound, because you're internalizing it, you start to you truly believe it. You have to have a mindset that Susan truly believes and knows that she is different, that she is the best. She's not having to sell herself because she believes that about herself. But if she wasn't practiced, if she didn't go into those listing conversations understanding and already knowing her value, if you don't know your value, like if you think you kind of know your value, you don't know your value. She knows her value. So you got to take some dang time and practice it, because it's costing us thousands of dollars. You don't get very many at bats in today's market.
We just get so.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was going to say, we just get so passionate because we just don't want
you guys to
lose any. We don't want you guys to lose any listing ever that you go on. We work hard to get opportunities, and we don't want to lose them unless we choose to not work with those people, which is fine too. but if we want it, we want to get it. So.
All right. Anybody got any more questions real quick? You guys are awesome.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for being on here.
Susan, I do have a question if Susan's still on.
Yeah.
How many margaritas does it take for a listing?
For people every time they want me to have a cocktail with them, which is quite often, I say, I'm still working. You have a cocktail. You let me keep talking. And by the end of this, you're going to sign my listing and everybody's going to be happy.
You're stronger than I am.
K-Money, you got anything?
No, I was just going to say thanks. I've been listening in the whole time, and every time you try to come to these things and get one good nugget, and I got a couple. So this is the hardest part of the game because I need to step up my seller side because I had the most buyer side transactions on our team this year, and I was thinking that ain't a good thing. So, you know,
Hey, that is.
Well, you know, it's all right, but it's, and I'm looking and going, and who had the least amount of seller sides, you know, and it was me. So I need to step it up. That's for sure. So this is good. This was good. This is good training. I think, you know, some training on maybe, you know, to what Gene was saying about, you know, how we work with databases. You know, I don't know if this is kind of what he was getting at is, hey, we've got somebody, you know, that we got as a lead or a floor call, and, you know, now what? You know, we've called them twice. Now what do we do? What are some things that you guys have done in the past or that some real successful people have done that says, this is something that's off the wall, and not just texting them and say, hey, are you coming to buy a house or no? You know, so some things like that would probably be, I think I would get some benefit out of that.
Hey, Kyle, that's a good thing to bring up tomorrow, too, if you're coming.
I will. Oh, yeah, I'll be there. Yep.
I bring the eye patch to listing appointments because I have no convictions and I'm drunker than shit when I go out. Oh, pardon my French, but I got to put the eye patch on when I'm coming back over the toll bridge.
La 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 la.
I'm just kidding. I walk back over the toll bridge.
Sure.
Hey, so we heard what I'm glad you piggybacked that. We definitely got value for what Gene said because we were kind of thinking that way. So you'll see that part of our plan next year is not just it is tools training as well. So that will be good, I think. I'll try to bring some stuff tomorrow, Kyle, but I did want to say something. Nobody starts out with a 50-50 business, and not every year does even the really seasoned long-time agents end up at a 50-50 business. Our awareness needs to be that the healthiest business in real estate is a balanced business between sellers and buyers. It doesn't work well either side. If you don't have any buyers, that's not good. If you don't have any sellers, that's not good. But you don't start out in this business with a 50-50, and you never really start out heavy on the seller side. So I'm glad that you're aware of it, but don't kick yourself too much because nobody starts out heavy on listings. It just doesn't work that way. You build your database, and then those people start turning, and that's what balances your business. So
yeah,
you just got to get an audience that you can. The first step is how do I get an audience? Something I didn't say earlier when we were talking to Gene is, sometimes you'll catch us old in this business. We're talking about a database, and you automatically think that means past clients. We talked the other day. Lots of our sphere of influence people, our sphere of influence is a group within our database. Okay. Our database can be anybody. Lots of the sphere of influence are people we've never done business with. They're just people we've identified that actually sing our praises and send us referrals. Doesn't have to be anybody you've done business with. It can be a business acquaintance that likes you. It can be a buddy that you play golf with, or somebody at your church that you're really close to, and that person will help you grow your business. So don't get put in a box about your database. your database is just an audience, and then your group within your database that you treat differently than your audience is those people who will send you referrals. Sometimes we make it too difficult. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say another group that a lot of time is left out that I feel like needs to be added on that. That's somebody who is an agent who can. You got an agent in Kansas City that's consistently sending you stuff. You better take care of them. You better acknowledge, put them in that A+ list, put them in that SOI list, so that they're getting touched from you. It's just we have a system. Again, it's a system because I would never remember it. But at the end of every month, we look at every referral we've done, and then we write a handwritten note to that agent and send them like a little $5, $10 Starbucks gift card. The referrals here at Lake of the Ozarks are it's so much, that pie is so much bigger than we make it. There's a lot out there that we miss because we can refer there. We can refer to people buying homes in Florida. I mean, we need to get intentional about that because we're leaving a ton of money on the and we're all guilty of it. But Jeff,
just don't make it too difficult.
No.
Paralysis by analysis happens daily in this business because we make we put too many things on our list. And so whatever works for each of us is what we have to identify. But we definitely don't want to overpromise to ourselves and come up with all these things that we should be, could be, would be doing. Especially with database, sometimes databases, the thought of how to take care of my database becomes overwhelming when it could really be as much as, getting a whole group, getting as many people as we can in there and then just marketing to them.
I want to add one thing though. We talked about the Lead Street emails. That doesn't count as a touch in my book. Just a regular email doesn't count as a touch. People are inundated with emails. If that's all you're doing to your past clients, to your SOI, it's not very effective because they're getting 1,000 emails. So you got to touch them some other way, whether it's a direct mail or a phone call or a text or a video email counts, I feel like, is a touch. That's my thought on that.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to be here.
Good stuff.
All right. See you guys. Have a good day.
Have a great day, everyone.
You guys too.
Bye.
See some of you tomorrow.
Just